From the Denver Broncos Media Center, welcome to Broncos Country Tonight.
Welcome to Broncos Country Tonight, about a week into training camp, and the Broncos, unfortunately, are dealing with some key injuries. Tim Patrick, Demarius Crockett are both out for the season with torn ACLs. So I want to sort of start with the reaction of how big of an impact that is to the team, and then we can get into the conversation of sort of next man up. Who do you expect to fill some of those roles?
Well, those aren't the only injuries that they've got right now. You look at this wide receiving core, and they're a little dinged up across the board. On top of the season ender to Tim Patrick, you got KJ Hamler, who's still coming back off an injury from last year, season ender from last year. You got Tyree Cleveland, who has been hurt. Kendall Hinton, who's been hurt. So a lot of chance for the down roster guys to get a bunch of reps. That said, how does it affect the Broncos? It affects them a lot. I mean, Tim Patrick is about as reliable a third down target as there is in the NFL, maybe outside of Hunter Renfrow. And so, anytime you've got a guy like that who's just uber reliable, doesn't drop passes, and now you've got to replace that production, it's tough to do. I think the mistake that I see being made on social media and amongst the fans is trying to replicate Tim Patrick's size. It's not Tim Patrick's size. It doesn't matter how big the guy is on the outside. It matters how reliable he is, and that's what they're going for.
Yeah, well, and so we get to that point with the wide receivers, and Kendall Hinton would be kind of the next guy. If you're asking me who has reliable hands, who you could expect to maybe fill into that role, but it's going to probably be KJ Hamler that is going to be your third wide receiver, isn't it?
Yeah, KJ Hamler will definitely. It'd be you move Judy a little bit to the outside. It'll be Judy, Hamler, and Courtland Sutton will be 1, 2, 3, which is what we expected, from the get-go. Tim Patrick would be involved in that as well, and those would be the big four. Right now, you got a big three, and then you've got right after that, you got Kendall Hinton. Once he comes back, he's got some experience, and you'll take a look at him. And they'll try Seth Williams on the outside there a little bit, and then they're going to try these young guys. The Brandon Johnson, the Caden Davis, Jalen Virgil, all these guys are going to try and get Montreal Washington, obviously, although he's worked mostly out of the slot. But in terms of what they're going to keep at receiver, I think they're going to keep 7 of them, and I think you've got 5 guys fighting for 2 spots.
Okay, and it does feel like 7 might be a little bit of the case. Would they consider going outside the organization, looking at some of the free agents? There's obviously some names out there. We don't have to get into all of them right now, but there are definitely some names out there. Emmanuel Sanders, Odell Beckham, that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't think it makes sense to bring Emmanuel Sanders back. He does not have experience in this offense, and I don't think that's a move you want to make. It's Courtland Sutton's room now, not bring back a guy who used to be the leader when Courtland Sutton was here as well. Odell Beckham, he's not going to be ready to play till November. Like, why even bother at that point? Unless you get into November and you need help, then you turn around and look at it. I know. I think that the internal candidates are probably where they're at. If they need to go outside, look for somebody with familiarity with this offense, Allen Hurns, Dante Moncrief, that kind of thing.
You think Jerry Jeudy now slots in a bit more on the outside instead of playing inside on the slot?
I think so. And Russ has experience with somebody like that playing on the outside. Golden Tate, obviously, has this kind of similar skill set to what Jerry Jeudy brings to the table. Backside slant, put the ball in his hands, let him create. I think there are he's played with guys with that kind of experience. And it's not like Russ Wilson has always had monster tree toppers on the outside. I mean, yeah, he had DK Metcalf, but he also had Tyler Lockett, Doug Baldwin, guys that were not very big that he made highly productive on the outside. So having size on the outside all the way around is not a prerequisite to making Russell Wilson successful.
Oh, no question about it. And I think there's an expectation. I talked about this on the radio show, Broncos Country Tonight. There's an expectation this offense is going to need a little bit of time early on in the season. We'll certainly see a little bit out in the preseason. I think that there's an opportunity for competition in the back end of this roster on who can maybe be one of those reliable wide receivers. Gives these young guys a chance to prove something. But the question I brought up to you last night on the show was, okay, well, now that you're without Tim Patrick, what do you think you are as a team? Oftentimes, when you lose a key player for your offense or defense, you think, okay, do we need to replace this with a vet, with a guy that we can rely on? Do we think we're a Super Bowl team right now that needs to take a big swing here, or do we feel like we have currently the guys that'll get it done?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything about a big swing. I think it's like, is this guy productive? Does he fit into what we want to do and go from there? And I think they just want people with familiarity. I mean, at this point, if you're already a week into training camp, getting a guy ramped up that doesn't know this offense is already going to be cumbersome. West Coast verbiage is cumbersome. So if you're not used to playing in a West Coast offense, that's going to be a problem. And then getting them acclimated, getting the timing down between the quarterback. What are you going to spend extra reps on that? You're going to take away from somebody. You've already got the guys here, and you want to see if they can do it. If they can do it, so much the better. And if they can't do it, then you start to think about those things.
You definitely lose some heart, though, with Tim Patrick. He was one of those guys, the beacon that you could point to, right, of a guy that worked his way up from being an undrafted guy to getting a contract here with the Broncos. And he did it the right way. He was a workman approach. He was a voice in that locker room. Certainly a guy with Cortland Sutton that they like to work together. So you're going to lose a little bit of that in this wide receiving core. I can't say that's replicable, but I want to see if maybe Jerry Jeudy can step into a little bit more of a leadership role, and I don't know if he's been asked to do that just yet.
Yeah, I mean, Tim brought something to the table that those guys can't bring to the table. He was an undrafted guy who made good. He's an undrafted guy that got to that big second contract, and he brought heart, intensity, and work ethic to the table. And, Jerry Jeudy was drafted in the first round. I mean, it's just there. He said the road paved for him. It's time for him to step up and be that first rounder. In terms of leadership, though, I mean, if you're looking for a guy like that, I mean, I think a down roster, lower drafted or undrafted guy, Seth Williams stepping up, a Tyree Cleveland, if they are able to step up into that role. If not, some of these undrafted guys they got this year, Caden Davis for Jalen Virgil, Brandon Johnson. We talked about these receivers. I think one of those guys needs to step up big time and say, even though I'm a rookie, hey, I got to fight for this spot. Let me show it. Let me be the next Tim Patrick.
But Demaria Crockett, right now he was competing for the fourth running back spot, maybe a third spot there where Mike Boone currently sits. Doesn't impact Javonte Williams or Melvin Gordon, who we expect to get the majority of the touches for the season, but you'd probably consider Tyreek McAllister's here right now. You might consider adding somebody here, especially when we go into preseason, where you're going to see a heavy dose of McAllister, Boone, and at least one more running back.
Yeah, and right now Tyreek McAllister's going to get that, but you are going to see them pick up another body just because they're going to need one. So it'll be interesting to see who that is, if that's somebody that's still sitting out there from last year, or if there's a UDFA George Payton has had his eye on. So it'll be there will be one other guy added to this roster from the running back room, but don't expect somebody that's a big name, top tier type of guy.
All right, good stuff. For Benjamin Allbright, I'm Ryan Edwards. Thank you for watching Broncos Country Tonight. Make sure you check out our radio show on KOA from 6 to 9 p.m. weeknights.
Denver's going to win! You can stand up and salute in Denver, or you got the world champions that live in your town.